All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Marketing Guides for Small Business podcast. I'm Paul, and today I'm joined by Ian and Virtual Ken, and together we're your marketing guides. So we talked a lot about SEO on this podcast, and I'm not sure if we've ever really done a podcast that covers the basics of SEO, and we won't get through all of it today anyway, I'm sure, but either way, it's a good idea to revisit a topic that changes as much as SEO does. So I'm not suggesting you take time away from building your business to do these things. You really should hire someone that knows what they're doing. But that being said, it's good to know some of the basics because there are more involved things that should be done when it comes to SEO. But as a small business owner, understanding the basics will help you understand what an agency is talking about and help you know what questions to ask and what you should be expecting. So, Ken, I'm gonna start with you. So, let's start by talking about what SEO is, the components of SEO, and the difference between SEO and SEM.
Okay, well, so there's a lot of confusion between SEO and SEM. So SEO stands for search engine optimization, and it's really the process by which you try to get more visibility for your website in search result pages on Google, Bing, Yahoo, DuckDuckGo, the other search engines. Search engine marketing is a paid strategy, which typically could include pay-per-click, for search phrases and things like that. It's a paid strategy. SEO is what we refer to as organic, meaning that it's really the things that you do to your website and the things that happen with your website that are going to help you rank. So how does SEO work? Really, there are kind of three high-level categories that you need to be thinking about. One is the technical, on-page and off-page. So let's start with technical. So first of all, technical is going to deal with, page load speeds, whether or not you have the architecture of your website set up so that it's easy to crawl and understand by the, search engine robots that are going to be hitting your site, using things like schema markup, all of these kinds of things. Then you've got the on-page stuff. And this is based on around the content and the pages that you've created for each and every page on your website. You can go in and you can help do some certain things, where there are typically 7 to 11 different kinds of things that we look at from an on-page SEO perspective for each and every page that you want to try to help rank in the search results. And then the off-page SEO tactics, which are typically getting links or signals from other websites or other important destinations on the web that the search engines see as authority. These could be paid, these could be directory listings. These could be links from other websites back to your website. And there's a lot of factors that go into that. So really, to sum that up, SEO is a process of improving your website to generate traffic, while SEM is using paid methods to help you show up in search. It's important to realize that SEO is not a component of SEM. A lot of people who talk to you are selling you SEM. They are not selling you SEO. And so the problem with that is once you stop paying them, the traffic stops, the leads and the phone calls go away. Organic SEO, where you're doing the things to improve how your website ranks, those are an investment in the long haul for your website. And so it's really important to realize that. Anybody who is not clear about that when you're talking to them as a potential vendor, you need to run. And anybody who promises that they can get you on page 1 of the search results page, they can't promise you that. Google, that's a violation of Google's terms. And if they're promising that, you need to run. So you need to be very careful here. There's a lot of shady characters. Now the good news is this stuff is all, I mean, if you do things the right way, and you've done things the right way over the last, several years, it's truly an investment. Your website is truly an investment, and the things that you do from a search engine optimization perspective are going to yield benefits. So to get visibility, let's talk about what that means. So you've got to create content that both the search engines and the users love, want, or need. The search engines need to be able to discover, index, and serve the content from from the pages and the content that you've put on your website. And then you from an SEO perspective, you need to know how to optimize and promote that content and the website structure and everything about your website to help the search engines understand that. So while SEO is constantly changing, Google releases several minor updates all the time. Not daily, maybe, but pretty close to daily, and sometimes maybe even more than daily. But major releases happen, on a fairly regular basis as well, and they can shake things up pretty substantially. And sometimes it takes a while for things to just kind of settle out and reshuffle the deck. And so you may take a hit in the short term for your rankings, but if you've done the right things and have done the things that Google says is important, then you should start to see that come back if you did get hit in an update. AI is making this even more complex because the AI has the ability to go in and make decisions faster, analyze trends faster, see what good or bad practices somebody's doing on a website faster. And so marketers have to stay up to date with the SEO education. Really critical element there. Things that evolve, right? I mean, now that we have mobile phones, voice search has exploded. And so you have to be prepared for that. There are new features and tool sets that are becoming available. We talked about AI and machine learning. And you always have to pay attention to your audience and how are they behaving? What content do they want? How do they respond? How do they interact with your website? It's about user experience. And there are a lot of signals that individual users, when they're hitting their website, are sending to your, to the search engines to see what they think about your content. So, foundationally, a couple of things are really critically important. And I'll get to these here in a couple of minutes because I know Paul has some questions about these. And one is you got to understand the intent of the user. And two, you've got to produce quality content.
All right. So those were some good points. And, one thing he said, and we've talked about it in the past, is that it's a long-term investment. It's not a sprint. Okay. SEO is not going to produce results next week. It's a long-term process, and you're never standing still. And if you just decide you don't need to invest in this anymore, and your competitor or your competitors continue to invest in SEO, they're going to start to outrank you. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Ken covered a lot there. I think a few points I would just draw out is a really easy way to understand the difference between SEO and pay-per-click is anything you do in SEO so there's two types of traffic. There's earned traffic. You earn the traffic, and I'll explain that in a second. And the other is paid traffic. You pay for the traffic to come to your website. And I'll explain why it's really important to understand this in a sec. But if you consider earned traffic, it means you've done things, as Ken was saying, all the things he talked about, content creation, the way you've built your website, everything like that from an SEO standpoint. In Google's eyes, and we'll use Google as the example because it owns 90-something% of the share of all searches, right? So if you earn Google's trust that you are the best source of information for what people are looking for related to your product or your service, the type of industry you're in, you will earn the top positions for those search results, and that will get you greater visibility in search results and ultimate clicks. And the difference between click-through rates in organic search, those organic search results versus paid, is the difference of like 27. I just have it up on my screen, but a recent study showed click-through rates on organic is 27.6% versus 3% on paid. It doesn't mean paid doesn't work, and it doesn't mean if you're focusing on SEO, you shouldn't also focus on paid in order to also get that traffic and those clicks. But it's really important to understand you have to earn that organic traffic by doing the right things that Google's looking for, and ultimately providing the right information that people are looking for. I think that's really, really important for people to understand. And they're two entirely different economic models. One is, if you look at SEO, it's like farming. You're doing the right things consistently over time that will produce a large amount of fruit and a growing amount of fruit. Paid traffic is much more like hunting. You eat what you kill immediately, but you're constantly having to pay more for every single lead you're getting, right? So can they work together? Absolutely. Should you only be focusing on paid? That's a really poor way of looking at it, because first of all, you're leaving a ton of money on the table, a ton of opportunities to your competitors. And secondly, ad prices are constantly going up, especially since COVID. We've seen big jumps. So you don't want to get stuck paying for every single lead. It's just bad business.
Yeah, and something about focusing on paid traffic versus organic is that paid traffic may be more immediate, but there's a lot of people out there, and I'm one of them. I don't think I'm not going to say I've never clicked on an ad, but I've never converted from an ad. Usually if I click on an ad, it's because I'm searching for something and it pops up, and and this is important for people to understand, I've never heard of that company, don't know who they are. So I may click on an ad and then go do some research and find out more about them and go to their website. And that happens a lot with paid traffic. And so, a lot of times people are like, well, I'm paying for this ad and people are clicking on it, but they're not converting. It's like, well, maybe they're not converting directly, but that doesn't mean that they don't go to maybe one of your social media pages, maybe your Instagram page or your LinkedIn page or your website, and convert from there. That ad may have been their first introduction to your business. So they may not click on that ad and convert immediately, but that ad might be the doorway, so to speak, and they convert later on down the road. And that's called an assisted conversion. And that's important to understand with paid traffic.
Yeah. And it's like we all have kind of this understanding of what a wholesome diet looks like for humans, right? I at least I think we've all been trained in this, that at the base, or the pyramid, at the base you have your vegetables, you have your grains, that kind of stuff, and then up at the top, and there's lots in the middle, and of course we have our treats, but up at the top, you have if you look at it as a pyramid, you have your steaks and your meat, if you eat that kind of stuff, or your proteins, right? And so just thinking about that as kind of building a holistic online presence, you need your base of farming, which is SEO, but you can also have that added benefit of paid traffic, meaning, like, even if that's not so if you're doing and I know we shouldn't go too far down this path, but there's different parts of the funnel that you can actually attack with paid advertising in a very strategic way. Top of the funnel activity, you can do search advertising, so that you show up in search engines above the organic listings. But then once somebody comes to your website, you can add this layer of paid ads that is very strategic in nature, where you're retargeting. So whether they come to you to your website through a paid ad or organic or directly or a referral, whatever it is, you can then hit them up again and create greater visibility with paid ads. So, I almost always see that paid ads can be very relevant and very strategic for businesses, but I wouldn't do it um, at the same time as ignoring SEO. I think that's just faulty thinking.
Yeah, think of paid traffic as processed foods. Don't make it the basis of your diet.
Right.
So, Ian, all that being said, so SEO strategy versus SEO tactics. What's the difference there?
Yeah, some easy ways to think about it is strategy is the why. Why are we going to do these things? And tactics focus on the how. This is a really important topic. I love this topic. It's actually a hugely overlooked topic in general in marketing, but I would say even in the SEO realm. Because why it's so important is if you truly understand the difference between strategy and tactics, and that you absolutely must employ strategy first and then tactics follow, your business will always win. You'll always beat out the other competitors that are only focused on the tactical side. So just to reinforce that a bit, so strategy is the why of the equation. It's the big picture. It's, how do we align our efforts? What strategies will we employ in order to achieve our goals? And what will the measurements be in order to know if we're achieving our goals? So think big picture. Think of, we're going to go on a trip. We're going to go out to California, and we are going to.
Why would anyone go to California?
It's always sunny.
Oh, okay. Not always.
But this is just an analogy. So stick with me, Paul. So we're going to hop in our car. We've determined that our car is our mode of transportation. We're going to hop in our car and we're going to go out there. So that's kind of strategically, we've decided we have a destination. It's our goal. And we know what vehicle we're going to take. But the tactical side of it is, well, what route are we going to take? Where are we going to stop to rest at night? Where are we going to stop for food? Are there things that we're going to, because our end goal is actually to really enjoy this trip and to get the most out of it, are there national parks we're going to stop at along the way? Because that's our interest. There's all sorts of other kind of tactical things, but it's the how, the specific activities. So bringing it back to SEO, like what specific marketing SEO activities will we do as a business on a daily, weekly, monthly, annual basis that are going to help us achieve our goals? And I think it's really important to understand that when done properly, tactics should always be governed and informed by your larger strategy, by the goal you're trying to achieve and the strategies that you're employing. But also, it's important to understand that your tactics, so as you do the tactics, the specific activities that will help you reach those goals, that the results of those and what you learn during that process actually create a feedback loop to your strategy in order to optimize it in a big picture way and help you get to your goals even faster. So I think, like I see this all the time, maybe you do too, Paul. Like, a lot of the businesses we talk to are stuck in what I would call the tactics trap. Even if they're hiring agencies or individual marketing companies to serve them in very specific areas, even specific areas of the SEO puzzle, so to speak, they're caught in this tactics trap where, they actually don't have bigger goals. Like, I mean, in the back of their mind, and even when they're speaking with these companies, they're saying, hey, we need more leads. That's our goal. We need more leads. But they don't really have a strategic plan to help them get there. And oftentimes, even some marketing companies do not even think strategically. They're just like, this is how we do it. This is what we're doing. do without stepping back and really understanding the client's goals, who the actual people are you're trying to attract through the SEO process, and what strategies and tactics you're going to employ in order to be successful. And so, you don't want to get stuck in that, because the end result of the tactic trap is that you will always take longer. So there's a huge opportunity cost there, right? The longer you take to get your act together, to get your SEO farm working for you, the more money you're leaving on the table for your competitors, the more resources, time, and energy and money you're going to be spending to get there, right? So, another way to even think about this is to pose the question, what's a bigger time suck? Is it mapping out your plan first, like thinking about that travel plan again? Does it take more time to stop for a second, to map it out, to build a plan, or do you just hop in your car and start driving west? Like, sure, that's spontaneous, but it's not the most efficient and effective way to get there.
Yeah, and if you have Apple Maps, they'll drive you off a cliff while you're just hopping in your car and driving. But to bring that into it, let's look at a specific component of SEO. So something we call technical SEO, structured data. So, and it's something a lot of businesses don't understand. And so why would you do that? Well, because it helps search engines understand your website and what it's about. That's why you do it. How you do it is by implementing schema markup. So that'll, and like you said, it can be difficult to do something if you don't understand why you're doing it. You have to know why you're doing something.
Yeah. If I can support that, Paul, one of the things I hear a lot of, especially now that, since March, artificial intelligence has taken off, right? Like it really wasn't, if you stop and think about, wow, like when did Chat GPT take off? It was March, right? It's been there for, a while, and we've been playing with it in the industry for a while, but it really took off in March publicly. And so even in circles where I'll be at a networking meeting, I'll even be talking with clients, and they're like, I don't think we need you necessarily to create content for us anymore, because we've got this magical tool called ChatGPT. And then that raises more questions. And this is really in line with this discussion about strategy versus tactics. So a strategy is content marketing to support your SEO effort, right? Google cares about content. The people who are searching for services or products like yours care about content. They need information in order to make an informed decision, and they're looking for information. And so that goes really strongly with SEO efforts. But the idea that I hear out there right now, and I understand the shiny object appeal of this, right? If it can save me a ton of money and time, I'm going to do this as a business. I'm just going to, I'll even pay $20 a month for ChatGPT Pro or Plus, and it will allow me to create whatever content I need as fast as possible, and it will be as good as a marketing company doing it. And what's really flawed in that thinking is, what content are you going to produce? And why are you going to produce it? So I've had discussions with business owners who are thinking of this, and it always comes back to, like, I just ask questions like, so what's your content, your overarching content plan? What keywords from your keyword research that you haven't done are you actually trying to go after? Because keyword research informs the content plan that you're trying to achieve in order to rank for those keywords or those searches or those topical searches. And then, like, we're not even looking at the quality of content being produced yet, right? Like, and that's a key element as well, is does a tool like ChatGPT give you the quality of content you want? Sure, it might be better than nothing, or it might not be. But I think that really highlights the difference between the tactical approach, which is just produce content, because sometimes in a business owner's mind, they've heard that content marketing is really important. So it's just about producing volume of content. But in reality, you need a strategy that informs what content you're producing, how it's produced, who your target audience is, and what important elements to even include in that content. So hopefully that helps people as they mull over those big questions, because they're important questions, and I can understand the appeal of them.
Well, and you know, a lot of people, they've heard the phrase "content is king." There's a key word missing there, and it's quality. Okay, quality content is king. Shit content isn't going to help you. And the thing is, AI is nothing new. It's been around. It's just now making its way into the world of marketing to a large degree. But search engines have been using AI for years. And keep in mind, AI has caused as many problems as it has solved. It's not a magic bullet. And the other thing with AI is Chat GPT, whatever you use, it doesn't train itself.
Yeah.
So if everyone's using AI to create content, there's no new content out there for AI to learn from. And I don't know if it has been updated recently or not, but I typed into Chat GPT, who's the president of the United States, and it said Barack Obama. So obviously it is not up to date. It's only relevant up to a certain point. So if you're a type of business that your content is timely, ChatGPT may be a really bad idea for you. So those are some things to keep in mind as well.
Yeah. I would also add to that, like you talking about quality content is king. I would even add one more word to that, and that's strategic quality content is king. Because again, like, I've this comes up a lot, is like when people are questioning whether they should still be paying an agency to do their content marketing. Well, what are you going to write about? I have thoughts on, I'm in the industry. I know exactly what I should be writing about. Oh yeah, well, tell me some of the topics. And it's interesting because all of the topics are related to what the business owner thinks are important and not what the clients think are important, right? It's kind of, I've heard the term belly button gazing, right? You as a business, you end up looking at yourself more than you look at your customers. And that's a death toll, right? You first of all, it's not going to help you with your organic ranking for what people are searching for, which is the key part of that term. Is it's not, Paul, one of the things I still see it today where clients, new clients who have been investing in SEO, have been getting reports, because it's a standard practice to give some sort of report to a client if they're investing in SEO. And oftentimes, and these are I have to say, I hate to say negative things about other businesses, but there is a problem in the industry that we who are really good at SEO, like you guys and us and others we know, who understand that just giving a report of the top keywords that your website ranks for is stupid. Like it's because, and the reason for that. So if you're a listener and this is the type of report you get, that here's your top 50 keywords that your website ranks for, the key part that you're missing from that, and that your SEO agency or business company is essentially hiding from you, is those don't matter. What matters are, what are the most searched for keyword terms or keyword topics that your ideal clients, your qualified buyers are searching for, not the ones your website ranks for. It's important that your agency is looking at that. But as a business, you don't care. You just want to know truly, are the people that are going to buy from me, how do I rank for the search terms that are most important and most searched for? Because like I see this all the time, Paul, and I quite frankly think it's such a a travesty that this is even being done.
Yeah, and something you said about the business writing their own content or using AI to write content is that, first of all, quality of the content you get from AI depends on the prompts. Okay, it's algorithms. It's not a person. It doesn't have the contextual understanding that a person does. So it looks at the prompts you put in and it generates content based on that. And we've seen this and you've seen this where business decides they're going to write their own content and they use a lot of industry
Jargon.
terminology. And
Yeah.
your prospects, they don't know that and they don't care about that. And that's not what they're going to search for. And so that content is probably not going to rank.
Yeah. Yeah. The other side of that too is that here's the truth about our process, because we're so, and you guys might do this too, but I am insanely jealous isn't the right word, but I'm insanely focused on quality, to the extent that I'm not going to put quality so high that it's actually detrimental from a pricing standpoint for my clients and stuff like that. But the key here is I am so focused on quality that even regardless of where the source of our content is from, and usually we're using, sometimes we might mix in some AI with it, but we're guiding that whole process. But we spend a lot of money on content with really good writers, and it's taken us years to find really good writers that are writing content the way we need it written, at the quality we need it written in. But we still have in-house editors that review the content regardless of its source, because again, like, even if it's a really good writer, if they're not writing it properly for attraction, engagement, and conversion, guided by SEO as well, it's a waste of time, right? Like, you might have a lot of interesting content on your website, but if it's not there for a purpose and it's not written well and it's not edited, garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we kind of went in the weeds on that.
That's okay. Good. It's a good topic, though, Paul. You picked a good topic here today.
So, question for Ken, virtual Ken. So, if you want a web page to rank for a particular keyword, you have to understand user intent. When they type something into a search engine, because content for the wrong search intent is not going to rank. So my question for Ken is, what is meant by user intent?
Okay, so let's talk about what we mean by user intent. So at a high level, there's a nice little way to kind of keep track of this, and that is do, know, and go. And that's a concept that search queries can be segmented into those three categories. Again, do, know, and go. So you need to think about your buyer's journey and how are your ideal clients interacting with your website. So the first thing let's talk about are these do types of queries. These are transactional. These are where people are looking to achieve a specific action, purchasing a product, booking a service. These can be really important for e-commerce. So with mobile search surpassing desktop, back in 2015 was the first indication of that, and it still surpasses desktop. Actually, about 57% or so of all searches are happening on mobile devices, either phones or tablets. And there have been major updates based on mobile friendliness of a website and mobile first indexing. And these have been made by Google in terms of the algorithms. So it's important to realize that, people are looking for doing a transaction. A lot of mobile search queries tend to be more focused on research and informational. And then because it's not as easy to make a purchase sometimes, on those devices, then they may continue on. The searcher may actually continue on a desktop or a tablet at a later date to make a purchase. But it's really important to realize that the types of transactions, people are wanting to make a decision. They're looking for a transaction, again, buying something or booking something. The no type query is really informational. So this is where people are in, the know, like, trust, the research phase of their journey, and they're looking for information. It can also be, again, very specific to a reason. Google calls these micro moments. So, for example, people who are looking for, like, what's the wait time on a restaurant? What are the train times, that are available so that they can purchase tickets when they get to the train station, or do they need to purchase them in advance? And it's real-time information that people are looking for. And again, the key thing is it's information. It can even, you just think about, you're watching a show on Netflix and you see an actor and it's like, oh gosh, I wonder when they were born. Okay, you're going to go on your phone and you're going to type in the name of that actor or actress, and your curiosity is, I want to know when they're born, or where have I seen this person before, and so you want to look up what other TV shows or movies they've been in, for example. So the no is very much informational. Go type queries are where people are looking for a brand or a known entity. And so, if they type in the name of a business, they're looking for information about that business. It could be to schedule an appointment or to go research a product that they know that company offers. The key thing is, you got to think about it, and you have to be able to look. We don't have control over the buyer's journey anymore online. They have our clients have way too much access to way too much information. They control their buyer's journey. All we can do is build an intelligent set of paths that we hope people follow. And it's difficult to fully track this because, you have to look at, kind of intent. When you look at, when somebody hits a website, how did they get there? They may have gotten there from, a do or a no type of a query. Even if they didn't take that initial call to action, it's hard to trace that path. So we just have to do the best we can. And we have to really think through the intent and what is driving people to do what they do and the way that they search. And then that leads to the next topic, which I'm going to cover here in a minute when we get to it, which is why content is so important for SEO.
Yeah, so maybe one of the ways to kind of understand this is, if you want to rank for a certain keyword or a certain search phrase, go type it into Google and see what kind of content is ranking. And that will help you, because, like I said, if you write the wrong type of content for a particular search term, it's not going to rank, because, Google's going to show the search results for what they think. And this is important to understand, I think, is that really Google kind of determines search intent. They show the content that they think is important for a particular search term based on what they think search intent is. And Google and Microsoft are kind of out of control lately, but that's a whole other discussion. But do you have any thoughts on search intent?
No, I just think it's really valuable. I think I actually do like search intent, and I as much as I know Google is the gatekeeper, just like they are with 93% of all search results in the world right now, right? And so they're trying to determine search intent, but I actually think it's smart and I think it's a good policy because um, if you can understand the search intent of someone, you can provide better information. And I think that's what Google's doing it for. And I think, not that Google is altruistic in all ways. I'm not trying to suggest that. That would be naive, but I think from a search engine standpoint, up till this point of time in history, Google is trying to produce the best end result, search result for a searcher, because as long as they do that, they will maintain this extremely dominant level of uh, who people go to get their search results. And that right now, that's Google, right? Yes, there's other players. Yes, AI is being introduced into search engines now, but Google's doing that too. So I don't foresee any dramatic changes to that, but maybe it will.
They had a major fail with their rollout.
Yeah, they did.
It's actually kind
But
of funny.
That's not surprising, right? I mean, it's a new technology. Again, has it affected people's search, where people go for search yet? I don't think so.
No.
But the search intent is really important because and I think it's important for the business and the SEO companies. It doesn't matter to the consumers or the businesses buying from other businesses because they don't care. It's only about, well, if you understand the search intent on certain key terms and phrases, then you can provide better content that will again help you show up for those searches as the better solution to their problem. So I think it's really important. But for the businesses out there, as long as you're hiring a good SEO company, this should be taken care of, right?
Yes, definitely. So, Ian, SEO myths. There's thousands of them out there. And some of them aren't really myths so much as outdated information, things that used to be valid and worked and now are no longer valid and don't work. And like I said, there's thousands of them out there, but what are some of the most common ones that you see?
Yeah. I mean, so I'm actually, this probably doesn't even fit within your framework of how you were asking the question, Paul. So I apologize. But I think for our listeners, I would classify them as two types of these myths. One is the first bucket is real myths versus perceived myths in general. And then the second type or bucket is what I would call like geeky myths versus real world myths. And so we in the business, I mean, we live, breathe, eat SEO all day, every day. It's our superpower, right? It's what helps us achieve really great results for our clients. And so in that world, I'm going to call that the geeky myth world. We look at all sorts of things that have traditionally affected results in search engines. Things like, are there delays when you do a new website? Does Google basically penalize new websites? Do they penalize duplicate content? Does advertising on Google ads help you with your organic rankings? Does tabbed content on your website make for bad rankings? Does Google use Google Analytics in your search result rankings? Does domain authority matter? All of those. But I think for the users listening, I don't think those are important. I think myths that I run into where it's faulty thinking or they've heard that these things don't matter, but they're massively important. So we can go back to the geeky ones if we want to, Paul, but I really want to cover these ones because I think these are really vital for business owners to understand and not get sucked into. And the first one is SEO is irrelevant. There's like, if you do searches on is SEO relevant or something like that today, you'll see polarizing results, but there's a lot of faulty thinking out there. Another one is keywords are irrelevant. And neither of those are true. SEO is super relevant because of the statistics that show that, more people click on organic results than the paid results. So again, we've talked about that. I'm not going to go into it. Another one is that as long as your web designer has a bullet point in, how they produce websites, that SEO is a part of the website build, that all websites are created equally. And that is a super big myth that is so false, because a lot of web designers don't do keyword research. So they don't actually know what content needs to be put on the website from an intent standpoint, from a transactional standpoint, from an informational standpoint, in order to help you rank, right? Another myth I see a lot of out there is that templated websites are going to compete effectively against custom websites that are informed by research, right? So an example I see all the time is in the dental marketing world is you sign up for a practice management software with one of these massive practice management companies, and that they will build you a new website. The truth is, they send you a link to templated websites. You choose which template you want based entirely on look and feel, and your website is magically produced. It's produced exactly like every other company that they've done it for. There may be some fields that are updated, meaning your dental practice name is updated. They will insert your name as opposed to another dentist's name, but a lot of the content is exactly the same as everybody else's. So, one of the myths that I said in the geeky section was, does duplicate content matter? And there are radically, even from Google. So in the article that we were looking at before we went into this podcast, just in preparation, one of them suggested that duplicate content doesn't matter. And I think that's actually a myth and a lie that's actually perpetrated by some people at Google sometimes. And it's horrible because anecdotally, duplicate content is horrible. So where we see this is you can buy PLR is one form of content, or
So what is PLR for those that don't know?
Yeah. I'm trying to remember what the acronym stands for. It means you have rights to the content. Like, say if I wrote an article and I released it to the public, like I sold it, people could buy my article on Invisalign. The benefits of Invisalign. Every dentist wants that on their website. So I wrote an article about it.
Private label rights.
Private label rights. Thank you. So that means you as a business can buy my article for $40 or something. You get the article.
Rights to use it.
That's right. And you can put it on your website without altering it at all. And so when you stop to think about that, like, does that give you a competitive advantage over another dentist in your area who has the exact same article? Absolutely not. Will it help you potentially if you have that article and nobody else in your geography hasn't that same article? It could, but again, it's a flawed way of thinking.
Now, that's an important point right there, is that there's something called the canonical URL, okay? And that is what Google recognizes as the original source of a piece of content.
Yeah.
So there's a difference between, does duplicate content hurt you, or will Google penalize you? And does it matter if you have duplicate content on your website? Well, Google won't penalize you for it. They'll simply tend to ignore it because they're going to look at the canonical URL and give that website credit for that piece of content. And that's an important distinction that you brought up, is that no, they're not going to penalize you for it. They're just going to ignore it.
So to me, like, not to splice hairs on terminology, but to me as a business, that is a penalty. Like that's hurting my
right. It's
opportunity to be visible. So,
right.
So regardless of what we call it, I think we get caught up in these terms sometimes, and that's not a comment about you, Paul. That's a commonly held thing. And if you were to ask Google, am I penalized for this? They would say absolutely not. But I think it's term splicing.
No, they're not going to penalize you for it. It's just not going to help you.
Right. Which essentially is the same thing.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. Did you want to go down into some of the geeky terms, or is that
Um,
I just find like I find because we in the SEO world, we have not arguments, we have passionate debates about some of these topics. And sometimes I step back and I go, these are stupid. Like, why are we wasting one iota of energy talking about this when we actually know that, okay, yes, Google says they don't penalize us, but it certainly doesn't help us. So, why go down this path of arguing about, highly technical things that really don't affect
right.
anything?
If if you're working with an agency that understands these things, you as a business owner shouldn't have to worry about them. That's why you're paying the agency.
Absolutely. Yeah, like so just an example, like some of the things I that we geek out on are things like does domain authority matter to Google? And again, this is term splicing. Like, does Google care how long your website's been around? Absolutely. Does Google care about other like backlinks going to your website? Absolutely. And so domain authority is just an industry term that says my domain has a certain amount of power to it because of a whole bunch of, it's an amalgamated metric, right, of all these other things that contribute to having authority in the space. So does Google use it? They don't use domain authority, but
No,
again, I think it's term splicing because they use all these other factors that make up domain authority, and that's why we created this metric, right?
yeah, and that's something we've talked about a little bit in the past. And domain authority is an aggregate rating, really developed by SEO tools like
Yeah.
whether it's Ahrefs or SEMrush or Moz, and they all calculate it differently. But see, here's what people don't understand, and this is straight from Google. Google doesn't look at your website as a whole. Google doesn't rank websites. Google ranks web pages. So they have, and they used to make it visible. Now they hide it, but they do have a page authority ranking.
Mm-hmm.
And they do use that to rank web pages, but Google does not rank websites. Google ranks web pages, and that's directly from John Mueller from Google.
But so here's where I get upset about these conversations, Paul, is so that leads people to believe that there is no aggregate value in how your website is structured together, how all those web pages work interconnectedly, meaning like links between them and stuff like that. It leads people to think that when that's absolutely not true. And we know it because
Yeah,
because there
absolutely.
is this aggregate power of a website that's built properly, that's linked properly, that your pages, one page, like this is why hub page strategies were created, or pillar page strategies, right, where hub and spoke, where you have all this content about a topic is pushing the power of those pages into a greater power for a specific page, right? So I I don't disagree with the specific of what you're saying. I
The,
just think it's misleading to the
the
average user.
structure of your website helps Google understand what your website's about and what
Yeah.
content is most important. So
Yeah.
there is an aggregate, authority being built up. It's just, and again, this goes into some technical stuff that, and I understand what you're saying, but I think people need to understand that what you just said is that the structure of your website, the internal linking of your website is absolutely important because it helps search engines understand what your website's about, what content is most important. And these bots that crawl your website, and this goes back to something we call orphan pages. If a page on your website is not in some way linked, whether it's from navigation or another page, internal linking, the search engines may never find it.
Yeah. I mean, the thing to remember too, like, so some of these arguments I hear, like kind of like how Google ranks pages, not sites, is where you go into their back end tool that Google has provided businesses to understand how their website, not their page, but how their website as a whole has been crawled, and how, how Google sees technical issues and stuff from a site as a whole, but also from a page standpoint, is Google Search Console, right? And
Right.
so to your point, you upload a site map, which tells Google, here's the structure of my website. Here's all the pages. Here's all the posts. Here's all the categories. Here's how they all interlink. Like, if Google didn't care about that stuff, it wouldn't be in Search Console, right? Like, that's our tool to understand how Google views our websites.
And they still won't index half your pages. That's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we went all about that for a while.
We might run out of time for this podcast, Paul. We might have
two more questions. So Ken, why is content important for SEO? This is what he had to say.
All right, this is one of my favorite topics. Why is content so important for SEO? Well, first of all, Ian and I and some other folks felt so strongly about it, and we didn't feel like there was a really good, clear guide for a lot of small businesses and business owners. So we created a book called Content Marketing for Local Search. Really, content is all about, creating content that helps you with, to align with that user intent. And it also has to be sanity checked against the content that's out there from all of your other competitors, how the search engines are going to see it, how they're going to rank it, and also what is the user intent. And so content is the critical piece of allowing you to get search visibility, which should improve your rankings and therefore should improve your traffic. But you got to know how to optimize your content. So organic search, it ultimately comes down, content and SEO are partners in this. They are critically linked. So content, there can be a variety of different types of content. It has to align again with the buyer's journey. So it has to be informational. It has to have transactional aspects to it. Really, I think it can come in so many different forms. We lay this out in the book as well. It could be audio, it could be text, it could be video. But it really has to educate, entertain, enlighten, teach, or help people take that action to make that next step, which could be, booking appointments, which is really the number one goal. Most people say they want the phone to ring or they want a form submission. They want booked appointments. Now appointments take the shape of different, based on your industry. It could be a reservation. It could be an appointment. It could be scheduling an estimate. But again, how does that happen? Well, you got to have content that the search engines and the users, the humans, can find. And so when you look at what Google does, and Google owns 92% of all search traffic right now, it processes almost 7 billion searches per day. So there's a ton of content out there. And so, Google is constantly evolving this, and it's trying to deliver the best, most meaningful results and useful results that are relevant to the searcher when they're typing in that search phrase. So that's why you have to think through your content strategy. And Google even gives us a guide in terms of what you need to be thinking about and what you need to be doing when you're creating content. It has to be useful and informative. So for example, if you're a restaurant, including, your location, your hours of operation, how people can order online, do you have outdoor seating? All those things are so important. That's useful and informative information. Is the information on your website more valuable and more useful than other websites? So again, when you're thinking about this on a national level or an international level, this can be really, really hard, right? At a local level, you're trying to convince people, why, in the search engines, why they should hire you to repair their roof or to fix their plumbing needs or whatever business niche you operate in. It has to be credible. By credible, there have to be authoritative sources that are saying this is a credible, important website. That comes from reviews. It comes from citations from business directories across the web. It comes from other websites saying, you know what, this website's important, and therefore I think this content is important on the website, so I'm going to link to it. Having information about the author of the content, the business owners, building trustworthiness is really important. The content on your website has to be of quality. It has to have, it has to load fast. It has to be structured properly. It has to be long enough to make sense for both the users and the visitors, as well as the search engines. And it's got to give them a great experience. And the search engines want to see that people say, okay, well, this page was good. I'm going to go look at these other pages, and build the dwell time and see if people are actually going to other pieces and other parts of the website. Those are signals that the content and the website overall is high quality and has value to them. And then, just the visual appealing aspect of it, making sure that you have simple things in place like, social media widgets, or are you regularly updating your content so that you're continually providing new and fresh content. When we get back to quality, this is where the on-page stuff comes in a little bit too, I think, because if you put a web page out there or a blog post and you don't do the on-page stuff, Google's going to look at that and say, they don't care enough to do the right things. So why should I care enough to deliver this page as a quality search result? Now, that has to be taken in context, because you're not living in a bubble. If there are other websites and other competitors that are making those investments, then you could be in real trouble when it comes to the visibility and the power that content can provide for your search engine optimization on your website. Really, I just want to leave you with this, that SEO value of content depends on how useful, informative, valuable, credible, and engaging that it is.
All right, so those were some good points. So, Ian, speaking of content, what are some of the essential pages that a website needs? We've been talking about post and informative content, but there's some pages that a website absolutely should have. And what are some of those pages?
Yeah, I'll fly through these because I know it's an important topic, but I think we could even break this out into another podcast. But your homepage is absolutely the most vital page you have on your website. It's the page that will get the most organic traffic. It's ultimately, what every other page on your website is pointing to some degree. And it's the landing page or the landing spot that a lot of people come to when they're, your Google business profile will point to it. Your directories will point to it. Your LinkedIn profile will probably point to it. So it's really, really vital. So the content on your homepage is vital. Landing pages, I think, are really important as well. And that's for paid ads. We always look at that as a standard practice, but even for organic, I think having landing pages that are highly specific for a specific topic, but focused on conversion, that you're not watering down what's on that page. It's highly focused on, a specific problem that somebody has and you're trying to solve it. Services or product pages, like as a category, meaning if you have multiple categories of products or services, you should have a page specifically that gives an overview of that category of products or services. So for a dentist, this would be, cosmetic dentistry would be a service category page, and under there you would probably have braces, implants, and some other, veneers and some other services. So think about that from your own business standpoint, whether it's dental or not. And then having specific detailed pages for every single product or service is really important as well, because that's essentially what those are the pages or the topics that you as a business they're most important to you, because that's what people will be buying from you. But from a consumer or B2B standpoint, that's what people are looking for help with, right? So you need those pages. An About Us page. This is it always seems like an afterthought, but this is a really important page, especially from a search standpoint, because Google wants to know information about your business, and it's drawing from different sources. And so having this on your page as the authoritative source of who you are as a business is really important. And I would even add to that if you are trying to position yourself as an authority in the space individually, like you want to create subject matter experts in a space for your particular industry, you need to have author pages as well, which I think are just a subset of About Us pages. Contact page. You need to have your contact information on your footer as well, but you need a specific contact page, a blog, overarching blog page that shows all the blogs available on your website, and then having specific blog pages, right? Those are really important, because you can drill down into the longer, we would call them long tail keywords, but it's really the longer the questions, the longer form questions that people have related to your services. So they might not be, it might not be a question that they are looking for your service. They might have a problem that your service can provide help on. So meaning if you're a plumbing company and you service like people's wells, and there's, you could have a blog topic on jet pumps versus submersible pumps and the benefits of each, right? And so when somebody's searching for that longer question they have related to that topic, you show up. FAQ pages, so frequently asked question pages, are really important as well. And there's more, but I think if you were to do those, 9 or 10 types of pages on your website, which, as standard practice, that's what we do for our clients when we're building out new websites. And I think that's what you guys at Changescape do as well, right, Paul? I think as a business, you're gonna be further ahead than your competition, who doesn't focus on this, correct structure of building out content that's meaningful to the user and therefore meaningful to Google.
Yeah, on a lot of websites, the About Us page is like the second most visited page. So it's very important. So we've gone a little long here, so I think this is a good place to wrap up. So Ian, you want to take us out?
Sure. Thanks for listening today. You're going to have to listen to this at, double speed, just because we went long, but we appreciate you guys as our listeners. That's why we're here. That's why we like to share our expertise with you in order to help small businesses thrive. So if you find this valuable, please share, please like the content, but share it with other business owners who will find it of value. Reach out to us if you ever have a question or a need related to these topics, or if you have a topic that you think would be valuable for us to cover, we're happy to do so. And until next week, we would recommend that you keep calm and mark it on.